Datsue-ba, lit old woman who strips clothes, is often depicted sitting by the Sanzu River, lit river of three crossings, in literary, visual, and religious depictions of the Buddhist underworld. Although Buddhist hell is imagined in a great number of texts and images ranging from places such as China, India, and Tibet, Datsue-ba appears to be unique to Japanese iterations of Buddhist hell. Throughout these depictions, Datsue-ba is broadly imagined and illustrated as an old, frightening ogress who takes the clothes from the deceased as they cross the Sanzu River. The first mentions of Datsue-ba date back to 11th century Japanese scriptures and religious stories, the earliest of which is likely the Hokgenki, which was composed by Shinjin the Tendai monk between 1040 and 1044. In Renshu Hoshi, one of the 129 tales within the Hokgenki, the Datsue-ba-like figure sits by the side of a river beneath a tree whose branches are draped in clothes. The woman is described as old and ugly and demands Renshu, a Daigoji monk who died from illness, to strip off his clothes and cross the river. 3 similar iterations of this story can be found in other texts from this period, including Kanjaku Monogatari Shu Anthology of Tales from the Past and the Canon Ryaku Shu Anthology of the Benefits of Canon 1. In these texts, Datsue-ba is unnamed and referred to simply as Uni Ogre or Auna no Uni, old female ogre. But the descriptions of the female ogre's physicality and locale by the Sanzu River are very similar, and also resemble future iterations of a more solidified, established notion of Datsue-ba. Datsue-ba also appears in the Jizo Jwokyo, which is a text of Japanese origin based on the Chinese scripture on the 10 Kings. In this depiction, Datsue-ba waits on the far side of a river as spirits who lack the virtue to be permitted to cross the river via bridge are forced to wade their way across the treacherous waters. The Jwosantansho, a commentary on the Jizo Jwokyo, offers a more detailed description of the nature of the river crossing. This text describes that there are in fact 3 possible passages across the river: Sensui's shallow water Kyoto Bridge, and Kyujin's strong and deep currents. The latter of the 3 is reserved for those who have accumulated a great number of bad deeds in their life, while those guilty only of minor bad deeds are allowed to wade across the shallows, and the virtuous spirits are permitted to cross the Sanzu River via bridge, avoiding the waters entirely. In the Jizo Jwokyo, Datsue-ba and her male counterpart Kenao reside beneath an Erauju cloth-hanging tree. When the spirits reach the far side of the river, Datsue-ba strips the spirits of their clothes, which she then passes to Kenao, who hangs the garments on the branches of the Erauju and judges the severity of their sins by the weight of the clothes and how much water they absorbed during the spirits' crossing. 2. Several Buddhist texts that quote from the Jizo Jwokyo also include depictions of Datsue-ba, including the Futsu Shodo Shu Anthology of Basic Materials for Instructing People in Buddhism and Jishu Hyaku In and Shu Personal Selection of 100 Tales Concerning Retribution. In these texts, Datsue-ba is also referred to with various epithets such as Bakihag Uni Ogre, Sanzu Kawano Auna, old woman of the Sanzu River, Kenayu, and Datsuki cloth taking ogre. Notably, the Jishu Hyaku In and Shu and the Jodo Kenbun Shu are the Buddhist texts that quote from the Jizo Jwokyo, offer slightly different descriptions of Datsue-ba. These 2 in particular describe Datsue-ba as stripping the skin off of spirits who do not have any clothes to take. Rokudo Jwozu are sets of paintings that began to be produced during the 13th century in Japan that depict motifs of 10 kings and the 6 realms. Datsue-ba appears in some of these hanging painted scrolls in a similar manner to how she was described in the Jizo Jwokyo, sitting beneath a 3 by the Sanzu River between the first and second courts of the 10 Kings. In the Jiksu painting of the 10 Worlds, a 13th century Rokudo Jwozu and one of the earliest known visual depictions of Datsue-ba, she appears on the second of 2 scrolls positioned beside the gate to hell. This greatly differs from her depiction in the literary Jizo Jwokyo, in which Datsue-ba is involved in the hanging of spirits' clothes, which was part of the judicial process of evaluating the severity of the deceased's worldly bad deeds. Datsue-ba also appears on a pilgrimage mandala at Zenkoji Temple in Nagano City. The mandala features twin images of Datsue-ba sitting near a tree strewn with white cloths. These twin images are positioned by the middle gate to the main worship hall, thus pointing pilgrims towards the most sacred site. This depiction of twin images of Datsue-ba is rare and likely unique to the Zenkoji pilgrimage mandala. At Zenkoji, pilgrims often undergo a ritual rebirth Kaden Megari lit traversing the ordination platform, wherein worshippers pass through a pitch-black tunnel beneath the temple's main hall while feeling for an iron lock which is meant to establish a principal connection with the main Buddha of Zenkoji. For considering that Datsue-ba is frequently associated with gates and boundaries between life and death. Positioning her images as such might suggest her as serving the role of gatekeeper, marking both a transition between sacred areas of the temple, as well as a between the realm of the living and the dead. During the Kei era 1848 to 1854, Datsue-ba took on a drastically different presentation, through a statue of her at the Shojun Temple in the city of Edo. This statue garnered widespread popularity due to the belief that it retained the power to grant wishes and worldly benefits to worshippers who visited the statue. This statue's likeness was depicted in the form of Nishiki woodblock print responding to the sudden craze around the Shojun Datsue-ba, but the artist Utagawa Kunoyoshi (1798–1861) chose to portray her in a manner that greatly differed from that of traditional Buddhist visual depictions. Utagawa Kunoyoshi depicted Datsue-ba as blue-skinned and clothed in a yellow robe. This new visual portrayal reflected the belief behind the Shojun Datsue-ba as a granter of wishes rather than a frightening hag in hell, who is responsible for sinful spirits.